What's up, YouTube? If you haven't tuned in before, my name is Brandon and this is Beard Guy EDC. So today we're going to be doing a little video for you guys. What we're going to be doing is we're actually going to be doing a bit of knife maintenance on my Banter. I've had this knife for a little while now. I've used it a fair bit. I use it just about, I want to say, every day. Where I use it every day, it's in the pocket, gets a lot of pocket time. It does pick up a bit of pocket lint, and because it's on bearings, it's going to pick up a bit of gunk. It's going to get noisy, a little bit gritty on opening and closing. The action is not going to be as smooth as it was. So in order for me to keep the action as smooth as it is when it's new, what I like to do is once every week or two, I'll give my knife a little maintenance day. So I figured this time I would film my maintenance day for you guys, show you what I do to keep my knives running smoothly. And I'm not doing any sharpening today, but I did do a little strop just to keep the edge tuned up. I don't sharpen and remove material if I don't have to. But I find stropping is a good way to keep your knife razor sharp in between sharpenings. So as I said, today is just going to be a little maintenance day, just a little tune-up for the Banter. I hope you guys enjoy this one and find it informative. If you own a Banter and you're not sure how to take it apart, or maybe you're a little intimidated, it's pretty easy and straightforward. This video should help you get through it, and hope you enjoy it, as well as all of my other EDC content out there. Stay tuned for a lot more. Hit the notification button, subscribe, whatever you want to do. Thank you to all my viewers and everyone who likes and comments on my videos. Okay, YouTube, so as I said in the intro, today what we're going to be doing is a little maintenance day on my Banter. So I've had this knife now for a little bit. I've been using it, I would want to say, just about every day. I have already done one maintenance day on it. I didn't actually film that one. Figured today, this time, I'd film taking apart the Banter for you guys, just for anyone that's curious how it comes apart and what the internals look like on this guy. So let's jump in here, and I'm going to grab the supplies that I'm going to need. So usually I will use some 70% isopropyl rubbing alcohol. And for oil, I'll use just a drop of Ballistol Universal Oil. This stuff lasts forever in the 200mm can. Even though it's not a big can, the amount that I'm using on each knife is literally just like a drop on the pivot. So the 200ml can will last pretty much a friggin' lifetime for knife servicing. Now I do use it for other things, but primarily it's used for my knife servicing. And just to keep everything in track, because the table is black here, I'm gonna grab a little blue shop towel, lay that down just so I can keep track of everything. And I'm gonna grab one more of these just for cleaning up the bearings and stuff. I'm gonna put that off to the side. I have just a cheap little tool set here. It's made for cell phones, but works great for knives. It's got the T6 and the T8 there. That's the two that I'm going to need today. It's got this handy little driver that you can kind of palm and turn, so that's pretty cool. I like that driver. Let's put this tool set off to the side, and I'm going to start with the T6 screws. There's two T6s on this one, and those would be in the pocket clip. The rest are all T8s. Usually you don't see T8s for body screws, which is kind of cool for this one. I like that. I just wish they would have stuck with the T8s for the pocket clip too, just to keep it all the same, because it's a little weird to have to use two different ones if you're not going to use T6s on all the body screws, but that's their choice, I guess. So let's pop out those two T6s and remove the clip. There we go. So now we have a clipless Banter. Now I'm going to swap out for the T8 and start at the body screws. So I'll start with this one on this side just because I already have this side started. Select that off. That's the T8 there. Put that with the other T6s for that side. Now we're going to flip it around, do the same thing. I find it's a little easier to get them out if you kind of squeeze the knife together, put a bit of tension on the standoffs. You don't get so much spinning then. Every now and again you'll get a standoff that's going to want to spin. Maybe it's due to Loctite, maybe it's due to over torque. But I do find that pinching down real hard on this, next to the standoff does help with that and reduce the spin. So there's my two T8s, my one T8 and my two T6s all removed. Now we go for the pivot. So the pivot on this guy actually has a little pin that holds it in place. So it's not actually a D-shaped pivot like most that you see. So I'm going to take that T8 and remove my pivot screw here. Put that in the middle. And now open this puppy and just kind of separate it. Nice and easy like. So here we have one G10 scale with the stainless steel liner removed. Prop that down. The lock bar right there. So I'll place my lock bar on my mat. So here's the liner lock mechanism here. And one of my standoffs fell out, so I'm just going to grab that right quick. Throw that back in there. So there we go, you have your two standoffs in there. Your liner lock. As I said, the G10 scale. Place that here. Now we're just going to gently pull the knife blade out. You'll see the bearings there, so I'm just going to tip that over. Place the bearing in my hand. And now I'm going to pop this pivot out. So that's what I was talking about there, you guys. You can see that little divot and the little raised piece of plastic in there in the milled out cutout. So that just fits in there and just kind of holds it from spinning. So it's not a D-shaped pivot like you traditionally see, but that pin does work really well. So there's my pivot. I'm going to remove that. And sometimes this part can be a little shit, I'm not going to lie, but if you use something small and just put it in the hole there and just pry out, you're going to be able to remove that liner. It's a very small liner. I'm not going to remove this one down here because I don't get a whole lot of gunk in behind it, so I'm just going to clean around it. But I will remove the pivot liner just to clean it up a bit. And yeah, so that's the G10 scale for that side with the pivot liner removed. And then we have the blade. So I'm just going to take some rubbing alcohol and put it on a small piece of that blue shop towel over there and clean out the pivot area right there and make sure that's all tidied up. I'll put that bearing with the other bearing just so I don't lose it. So like I said, I'll just grab a small piece. I don't want a whole lot. A little bit of isopropyl. Just give it a quick little clean out just to make sure there's no gunk or anything in there. I do like to go over the rest of the blade as well just to make sure everything's clean. Nothing's going to eat away my coating or anything. So that should be pretty clean. Good for the bearings. I know a lot of people like to clean the bearings different ways. My simple solution for cleaning bearings, I place them in the palm of my hand. I add just a little bit of alcohol to my palm. And then I just kind of take my finger and roll the bearings around in the alcohol. And you can usually see a little bit of gunk come out. This knife is, I take pretty good care of it, so it shouldn't be too dirty. But I do like to service it once in a while just to be sure. So make sure all the alcohol's off. Place that down on my rag. Swirl it around a bit. Okay. Wipe that bit of alcohol up. So my bearings are clean. I'm going to take another small piece of the blue shop towel with some alcohol and just clean out the scales in where the liners go just to make sure there's no gunk that's going to impede the tolerances there. Make sure everything is tidy. So we just want to make sure everything is going to lock together real nice when we put it back together. We don't want any pieces of dirt or gunk stuck in behind there. So we'll clean that out. Just give it a quick go over on this side. Same thing on this side. Now we're going to take that liner lock and just clean around the pivot and the detent, because sometimes the detent can get a little bit of gunk on it, and that'll be noisy and not so fun. So clean around the pivot hole, all good. Just take a little bit of alcohol and put it on the pivot itself just to make sure everything slides together nicely. There we go. All right, so we're going to be ready for some reassembly here now and some lubrication. So let's start with the liner lock side. We're just going to take this, made it up in there, real nice. Now I'm going to take my ballistol with my straw, and I use so little of this that I don't actually spray it directly onto the knife surface. I'll actually just do a quick little spray off to the side, and then whatever drips out after that, I'll just drip down onto the pivot area. There you go, just a little drop. Pivot liner right there. And again, just take a little tiny bit of ballistol, not a lot, just a drip. Spread it around a bit. Now the same thing goes for both sides of the knife blade. Just a little bit of ballistol in there, just to keep everything lubricated and moving freely. Don't want to actually spray it, just let it drip on. Now, when it comes to bearing cages, I always like to make sure that the cage is facing, so the closed side is facing out of the blade, because the inside of the blade is going to be where the least amount of stuff is going to get in. So I find it's best to keep the cage facing this way. So on this side, we're going to take our pivot. We're going to line up our notch right there on the bottom, right there on the bottom. Shove that in. Okay, notch has been lined up. Now I'm going to take my bearing and put it cage side down, or closed side down. So that way this side, the open side of the cage, is facing into the blade. Okay, so I'm going to drop my blade on there with my bearings. Now I'm going to take my stop pin and just insert that in there. Sometimes it can be a little bit of a bitch to go in there, but that's normal. All right, so he's in there. Okay, now I'm going to take this side. Okay, so the bearing's on there. Now I'm going to take this side with the oil and with the standoff. The other standoff is on this side. And I'm just going to line up that standoff there and the lock bar. I'm just going to snap it all together. Okay, now the first thing I like to do is put my pivot screw in, just to kind of hold that in place. And I usually give it a full rundown pretty tight to straighten up the blade, to make sure I don't have to do too much adjustment afterwards. So I want to go pretty tight, but not super tight with it, just to hold the blade straight. And now that I got the T8 still in there, I'm going to grab my one T8 that goes on this side for the body screw. I'm going to install that. Like I said, squeezing down on the standoff a bit so I can get some torque on it. Okay, now I'm going to grab my other T8 and put this body screw in on this side. Lock it down. It's a cheap driver set, but I gotta say it works really well. I got it from Princess Auto, and it's been doing pretty good for me so far. I also have a Mastercraft set and a Weeha, but I really do like this one. It hasn't stripped out on me yet. They seem like really good quality bits, so I'm pretty happy with this one so far. I don't know why I'm taking that T8 out already. I still have one more to go. Right up here by the lanyard hole. Give that a little rundown. Okay, now I have my two T6s for my pocket clip. So I'm just going to take my pocket clip here, line up that, like so. And give this guy a little rundown. Not super tight, because I got to get the smaller screw in the bottom. The shorter screw goes in the bottom of the clip, because this one does not go into a standoff. Tighten that down. Okay, nice and tight. And now give this one a good rundown. Tight. So now I'm going to take my T8 again. I'm just going to back my pivot off ever so slightly. And I'm going to spray just a little bit of ballistol on the blade. Grab my shop towel and get that on both sides of the blade and spread it around, just to keep it protected. I do like ballistol. It works a lot better in WD-40 in my opinion, or it's not quite as good as KPL or any of these specific knife lubes, but for what I use it for, it works really well for me. I have no complaints with my ballistol. It's food safe, because I do like to sometimes cut up apples and stuff with my knife. So I have no worries of poisoning myself with anything toxic, because this stuff is food safe, non-toxic. Really good stuff. Works well on the pivot, and it coats the blade really nicely too, just to make sure everything is not going to corrode. Away we go. Around the pivot, or around the thumb stud there. Make sure I got it all wiped in. Okay. Now, sometimes you might have to go back in and just back the pivot off and tighten it down just to recenter it. And away to go. So that looks pretty centered to me. Great action. Spotty flick. Nice. Now that oil will dry up over time on the blade. It's not going to stay shiny like that, but I just like to put it on there just to be safe. That's how I service my Banter. Pretty quick, pretty easy. Not intimidating at all, really easy knife to service. Hope you guys found that informative. If you own a Banter or any other knife, most knives are pretty similar for disassembly. 9 out of 10 knives are going to use a T6 and a T8. There are some exceptions to the rule, especially with high-end customs. You're going to see some strange pivots and stuff like that. But for the most part with production knives, you're pretty safe with a T6 and a T8. Sometimes I will strop it. Today the knife is still pretty sharp, so I don't really need to. But just to show you guys, find my angle, just kind of strop backwards. Find my angle, strop backwards a bit. And sometimes I go from the tip to heel instead of heel to tip, just to change it up and make sure the knife is sharp the whole way up the edge. I actually have not had to sharpen my Banter yet. I've only stropped it, and I only strop it on maintenance days. I don't strop it every day like I do some of my knives, because this S35VN is freaking great, in my opinion. It's still razor sharp, bites onto the thumbnail like something fierce, and it has been used. I've broken down some boxes, blister packs, all kinds of shit like that. I love this knife. Feels great in the pocket, feels great in the hand, cuts well. Like I said, that oil will dry up over the next hour or so, so it's not going to look so shiny like it does right now. But this is how it looks right after maintenance day. Now I'll show you guys the pocket dump of the day like I usually do. I'll start with the primary folder, I guess. Rocking the Concept Prickle, also S35VN. Front flipper, carbon fiber, love this guy. Really smooth as well on the bearings. Beautiful knife. My secondary folder for today is my Benchmade mini bug out. Absolutely love this knife too, an S30V. Very nice. Nice action on that as well. And my flashlight for the day is the Lumentop Tool AA 2.0 with a 14500 battery in it. Love that light. Love that it's rechargeable now with the aftermarket battery. And that's my carry for the day, and a quick maintenance and service on the wee Banter. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. As always, take her easy, and have a great day.